As you listen to this, I'll be on a flight on the way to Amsterdam as Arsenal take on PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League after a weekend of FA Cup action has really raised a few eyebrows. We're going to talk about that and, of course, more to do with Arsenal in particular with a fantastic guest in today's Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show. I'm very happy to be joined this morning / this evening, as the time that we record it, for myself and Mr. James Green of Sky. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
I'm good, yeah. Lack of sleep recently, funny enough, but I'm good.
New life into this world for listeners that don't know. Congratulations once again, James, on the
Thank you very much.
A fantastic little one. New Gooner.
New Gooner, actually. So I haven't yet posted anything in her Gooner gear, but that's to come hopefully this week. But the wonderful football club that is Arsenal, they sent me a package for her when she was born, which was amazing of the most amazing club out there. So I was incredibly grateful. But yes, outfit incoming and post will be posted out across all of social media. And she will be a Gooner for life. God bless her.
I love that. Brilliant. Yeah, amazing. And just I heard a few people in the chat asking, "Oh, when's James coming back?" It's been a while since James has come on the channel, and well, now you know why. It's been a little while. James has been very busy.
Life's a bit different now. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. Life's hectic. It's changed a lot, of course, for Arsenal. I think since the last time we spoke, title races have collapsed. Trophies have kind of flitted away as well, and we're in a very different place. And the last time we spoke, we were speaking quite optimistically, about the future. It feels like every month that's passed since you last were on the channel, we've lost another player to an injury. The season's just not gone the way that we hoped, mate, has it?
Are you blaming me, Tom, for that?
Oh yeah, it's all you. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's all you. But it's not been great. It's just bluntly putting it, is it?
Yeah, so disappointed. I was thinking when I was last on, I think it was around Christmas from memory. I feel like we did maybe a Christmas one, did we? Maybe it was earlier than that. But yeah, look, it's just a shame, isn't it? Look, I'm not going to, and I haven't been tearing my hair out or anything like that over it. I've not been too angry. It's just everything just hasn't aligned, has it? And look, there's a narrative with Manchester City having such a shocking season that it's Arsenal's, that they've lost it. But it's so disrespectful to what Liverpool have done and achieved this season. Liverpool have been outstanding, and they've been lucky in terms of injuries, no doubt about it. We had a bit more of that luck last season, and we still couldn't get over the line. But, Liverpool have just been a juggernaut this year. They fully deserve to be in the position they're in. And regardless of whether we had a fully fit squad, I still question whether we still would have had enough to beat them this season because they've just been that good. But look, injuries just hit Arsenal at the worst possible time. And look, I'm sure there's been so much spoke about the transfer market and not buying a strike. And I've got to be totally honest with you, it's getting so boring. And it's getting boring in mainstream media, listening to every single game Arsenal are in. That's always mentioned. It's just a boring, lazy narrative now, I think. I think we're past that. I think we've got to just focus on, okay, the realities of the situation. Could they have got someone in? I don't know. I think it was difficult. Did they try in the summer? Probably not, when they probably should have done. Have they made mistakes? Yes. But look, can we expect that Jesus would be out for the season? Can we expect that then Havertz, who's never, ever, ever injured, then gets ruled out for the rest of the season? Bukayo Saka out for 3 or 4 months. Martinelli out for 6 weeks minimum. I mean, what are we supposed to do? There's 4 forwards out. What are you supposed to do? Take the 4 forwards out of Liverpool? We've got different conversations to have. So, it just is what it is. I'm not that disgruntled anymore. We just need them to try and do something now. And obviously the Champions League is a big opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it is an opportunity. It's really hard to kind of feel up for games at the moment because of just how little enthusiasm and optimism there is around Arsenal at the moment, and I empathise with supporters that are struggling. At this end of the season, with we're in March now. There's March, April, May, less than 3 months to go now. This season has flown by despite its difficulties. I feel for Arsenal. It might have been a longer year for you, James. To be fair, with everything that's going on, but from a personal perspective, I feel like the season's actually gone a little bit faster than maybe I thought it would, considering how dour it's been at certain points. And I think that's because I've been kind of like, the January window felt like it went by in a second because we didn't do anything, and it just felt like the clock's ticking on Arsenal to do business, and then it just felt like it was injury after injury after injury. I think that sped things up in terms of the feeling of time passing. And you go away to Dubai and you think, great opportunity to have rest, recovery, recuperation. You lose your last striker into the end of the season for injury. So it's just been chaotic. You bring up Liverpool. I think, yes, first of all, have to credit them. You're not top of the league for no reason at all. I think it's probably one of the most fortuitous potential league wins that we've ever seen, with some of the things that have gone down for them. And, of course, more so what's happened to their usual and typical competitive title rivals as well. But, again, Arne Slot's come in and taken on that kind of that moment of Jurgen Klopp and taken it forwards. And it's very difficult for any manager to do that when they come into a new job, and he's done that very well. But you mentioned the Champions League, and that's obviously where Arsenal's focus is, and that's where Arteta will be thinking about on Wednesday, and I would rather Tuesday night. PSV are our opponents, a team that we're very familiar with. It's the third time in 3 seasons that we've played them, believe it or not. And it's the first time we've actually played them in a knockout round of a competition since 2007. I don't know if you remember that game, James, but that was the season after Arsenal were eliminated in the final of the Champions League to Barcelona, of course. The following season, a lot of expectation, having reached the final, and then were eliminated by PSV on 2-1 on aggregate. Alex.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember watching it. Yeah,
scored late on to redeem himself and take PSV through.
Wasn't it like a 25-yard strike from memory?
It was something ridiculous, yeah. And Thierry Henry was not fit for the starting field and had to sit on the bench, and it was just a bad night. We're hoping that it's going to be very different. They've been beaten in their last 2 games by Go Ahead Eagles, one of the greatest named football clubs on the planet. Mate,
they're flying, they are, though.
Hey, lovely stuff. You really got your claws into that one. But when it comes to how PSV look, the pressure's on Peter Bosz right now. The fans, there's a little unrest. They've chucked away their own potential of another title. Ajax now running away with it. The mood there is also very low. The problem is that they're still scoring goals, but they're leaking them. And Arsenal's issue is they can't score goals. So how do you kind of weigh up the chaos that is this tie?
It's a chaotic tie. I think you summarised it quite well, because I think chaos is probably what to expect, really. Look, they score a lot of goals, that's for sure. The one good thing for us is defensively, I feel like actually we're getting stronger and stronger now as the season's gone on. I think defensively we look a little bit more assured than we have done previously. That's because we've only got defenders now. We haven't got any other players, it feels like. Look, they're a good side. I think first and foremost, we shouldn't take them lightly. Juventus are a very good side, and they managed to get past Juventus to qualify. They're one of few teams to beat Liverpool this season. Again, not an easy feat, despite the fact Liverpool, yes, made a few changes, and I think they had players sent off from memory. Yeah. But they still did the job and beat them. Not an easy place to play, not an easy place to go. As you mentioned, not dissimilar situation in the league in terms of the fact that one team's running away with it a little bit more and they're dropping behind, same as us and Liverpool. But look, it feels like this is our only chance now this season. It is our chance to still do something special. It's just so difficult watching Arsenal now the last couple of games to know where the hell they're going to score the goals. And, look, we were all pleased with what they did against Leicester at the end, but it's Leicester. And we must emphasise that, because the bottom 3 in particular this season have been so poor that we can't use that as a barometer to measure our success or measure where we're at right now. Like it's just not. We should be brushing them aside regardless of who we've got in our ranks, really. And then the disappointing defeat to West Ham was just just a bit of a killer, and you just never thought you'd see where the goal was coming from. So look, it's going to be tricky. I don't know what he's going to do.
What do you do? I feel like he can't start Mikael Marino. I think he probably will, but I feel like you can't.
He can't start Sterling. He just can't.
He just can't.
I'm sorry, he just can't. I mean, it's, oh my God. It was Leicester, wasn't it? Where
it was awful. He didn't take kindly to my question when I asked him about. I think I said after the Forest game, so I said, "You've brought Sterling on in I think 5 of the last 6 games. You started him in the other game, and I've noticed on the field that you've been unhappy with some of his actions because you could see he was unhappy and complaining at him in certain moments. Do you feel like you've seen? I said, do you feel like you've seen enough now that you might make a different decision?" And he was just like, "I'm not going to personalize, an individual player off that," which I respect. But like, I felt like, and I know that this guy who I'm going to mention now has not played a single minute really, other than a tiny cameo in the Champions League game. But you've got a 22-year-old striker on the bench, and he's sitting there. You're not scoring any goals, and you're not using him. And I think fans are right to kind of ask, why are you not using him?
They are, yeah. Mikel Arteta's been like that sometimes. We think of, I know you were knocking and bashing that Nwaneri drum all season long, where it felt like there were opportunities for him to come on. There's opportunities for him to start, opportunities for him to play. And he didn't necessarily get that game time until further down the line. We've got to put faith in the manager that he knows when the right time to put these players in. But it definitely feels like we are at a point where it's like, what other options have we got? You haven't got any. Chuck him in. You never ever know. Look, for me, this is my radical head, and I don't know whether this is due to having baby brain and having so little sleep over the last 5.5 weeks.
And that's not to do with the baby. That's just because you're an Arsenal fan.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
I've been so disappointed in the last 2 months with Declan Rice. Really disappointed. And during times when your squad's crumbling a bit for of injuries, you're looking at those senior players to stand up. Declan Rice, for me, is not influencing games like the way Declan Rice usually does influence games. So my radical idea, put him up front.
Oh, no. I was worried you were going to go there, and he's gone there. Fair.
Put him up front. Put him up front. Look, for me, he's, first of all, on his game, he leads by example. He's fitter than most players in that team. He'll run and run and run. What they nickname him, the horse. He'll carry on running, so he'll press from the front. He's good in the air. Are you going to crawl along the back here? Yeah, you're going to crawl. Right. That's my fiance making a crawl.
That's all right. That's okay.
Don't, if it's the baby crawling behind, then I'm going to just jump up and down because she's only 5 weeks old. She can't be doing that. Yeah, okay.
Setting the example. I like it. It's good.
Yeah. She was watching you anyway. But look, I know that's radical and he's not going to do it. But I just feel like he actually is probably one of our most cleanest strikers of a ball. As I mentioned, he's good in the air. He can run all over the place. He can play as a false 9, so he can actually drop a bit deeper anyway. I just would go for something different. That's my opinion. I would also, if I'm then putting my maybe less baby brain affected hat on, I wouldn't play Marino. I would play Trossard as a false 9. I'd play Nwaneri on the right, and then I would either play Tierney in that further forward position or put Calafiori further forward, because he's proven that actually he's quite dangerous in that final third. So look, I would do something different. I think that's the key. And I think if you're asking every single Arsenal fan, what do they want to see? If we see the same side that lined up against West Ham play against PSV, I think there's going to be a lot of disgruntled Arsenal fans. I don't think they're going to be happy with that, because quite simply, it's not really working. So he's going to have to think outside the box a little bit. And the Rice thing, he's probably not going to go there. But
I'm sure he's not going to go there.
I'm sure he's not going to go there. But you never know. But Trossard there, and a Calafiori or a Tierney further forward, maybe he'll try that.
So the listeners know my radical suggestion. My radical suggestion at the moment is a back three of Timber, Saliba, Gabriel as the back three. Left wing back, Kieran Tierney. Right wing back, Ben White. Midfield three of Partey, Rice, Ødegaard. And then a dovetailing pair up top of Waneri and Trossard, where you get the width from White and Tierney. And then you have those two more central. So they're more they're closer to the box and will have more of an influence on the play and aren't isolated in those wide areas. So that's kind of my wacky solution of how I'd like to see Arsenal try. Again, I don't think it will happen.
I was going to say he's just not going to do it.
He's just not going to do that. No, he's not. Of course he's not.
I think it's too radical a change.
Yeah.
For this stage of the season as well, for him to then, where he's been so persistent in the way he wants to set up, for him to then change and go to three at the back,
Well, he kind of slammed me, not slammed me, but he certainly kind of put down, because I said to him, we're so used to you using the 4-3-3 that we've come to know of. When you first arrived, you did try back three to stabilise things and build from there. Would you be open to some more drastic changes? And he slapped back and he was like, well, we don't really play 4-3-3. We play loads of different formations. I was like, right, you're not humouring me at all. Because you and I all know that on paper it is a 4-3-3 and that's the average positions of the players. And it's a very fluid system. And I remember that press conference he did once where he was like, we played 40 formations at the weekend.
Yeah, I remember.
And I know football's not binary, and I think he just needs to be a little bit more humouring of that then. I get where he's coming from, but it was like, the question was more around, are you willing to try more drastic things? I guess he would say, well, chucking Mika Marino up front is pretty drastic, and he's done that. But 2 goalless games for him where the only chance he really has had is that header from the corner, which he'd probably have if he was playing in midfield as well. I just feel as though that there's a real worry if we don't, basically, I feel as though if PSV score, we don't win.
No, I agree with you.
Because I can't see us scoring more than one. So that's the problem that we've got.
Yeah, that's the problem. Where are the goals coming from? Look, it's all just so frustrating at the moment, because actually, you look at the Forest game, I thought we actually played quite well against a side that, third in the table, having a very good season. I thought we played very well. My problem is that when the chips are down in that forward line, you need senior players. Everybody else has to stand up and be counted. And you're talking about Ødegaard, you're talking about Declan Rice, and I will pick those two out. And for me, we're not seeing enough of them too. We're not seeing enough responsibility from them two on the field. And it's got to change, because it's got to come from somewhere. If you haven't got your Saka, you haven't got your Havertz as your focal point, or Martinelli on the left when he plays, where's it going to come from? And you need that driving force in midfield, because midfield's there. The players are there. The strength is there from what it's been. If we had our first team picked, it would be, Partey, Rice, Ødegaard, right? Wouldn't go any other way really this season. So it's got to come from those two specifically for me. But look, is he? I wish he's going to pull something out the bag. Arteta, this is. I'm desperate for it as well. Look, if he lines up like you said, or if he tries something different like I said, or maybe he puts Timber further forward, another player that I think actually could play in a much more advanced role in that team, despite him being an excellent defender, and I love the fact he's a defender for us. But something's got to change, Tom. You can't. The season is wailing away, and if you don't change it now, the season's going to end in a couple of weeks' time. It's as simple as that. It will end. If we get knocked out by PSV, it's over, and then we're back to what it was like under Arsene Wenger, where we're going, right, we've got to make sure we finish fourth.
Yeah,
and that's really sad, and it'll be a sad end if that's how our season plays out. And actually, I was going to say, quite frankly, if you look at our fixtures, apart from Liverpool away,
They are favourable.
In my opinion, they're very favourable. And if he can get them going again, if we could get maybe a couple of the injured players back, then this season
I think it'd be
rescued.
really disappointing if we didn't finish at least second this season. Like
I feel it with you completely. Yeah.
Like it would be, and I know that I can just sense the chat box right now going, "Oh, second place, war a trophy." I can sense that being said. But the reality is that I can't look at the team we've had available this season and go, that's going to win a title. Like, when the team you're up against has had basically, so much better, when its best player in Mohamed Salah has been available all season and scoring untold numbers of goals. Like, it's just, and you've lost Saka, for the half the season. It's just unrealistic that would happen. It sucks because Man City have been off the pace this year, and it's been an opportunity for a team to step up, and we unfortunately have just not done it. I also don't think, and keep saying this, for all the anger in January, and I think there is rightfully anger about the fact that we didn't do anything in January, I still feel as though that I don't think there was a single signing that we could have made that suddenly mean that Arsenal are going to win the title in that window particular. The best you could have hoped for is Ollie Watkins. And for me, without Saka, without Havertz, without Jesus, without Martinelli, for however long we've lost them, we still could have further injuries this season. I don't feel like Ollie Watkins on his own would have been the difference between us closing that gap to Liverpool to the point where we're overtaking them. I just don't. And I personally, I haven't spoken since the January window. Like, that Ollie Watkins was the most realistic in the end type of move that Arsenal could have done. Where did you sit on that? And it kind of segues into the sporting director conversation, which is where I want to kind of end the show as well. I felt, from just to give you kind of my perspective, was that I was sitting in Girona with Simon Collins and Sam Dean in the hotel before the game, before the news broke. And when it did break, we were kind of unanimously a bit like Watkins. Like, and I don't mean that disparagingly of Watkins. It was just because the 60 million tagline was there when the news broke. And I was thinking, if Arsenal are going to spend all of their budget that they have to invest on a centre forward on 29-year-old Ollie Watkins, that just smacks of desperation and a lack of strategy and planning to me. And I was hoping that they wouldn't do it because of that. And in a weird way, even though we didn't sign anybody, I was kind of glad that we didn't sign Watkins, because I felt it would have been a real panic buy at the end of January when we've got bigger and grander plans, I think, particularly for this summer. But tell me what you felt.
Yeah, look, the anger, I think the anger from Arsenal fans has probably frustrated me a little bit, if I'm honest with you. I found it a little bit too much. It's frustrating when our fan base sometimes just I don't know, just shows this emotion it's just far past where it needs to be. It is. It was disappointing to see that. And look, I think there's a difference. You can be frustrated with how your club's doing business or frustrated with things on the pitch, but when it turns to anger, I think it's such a raw emotion that just doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help the situation. Doesn't help you as a fan. Doesn't help fans around you, and it certainly isn't going to help the club. I think I felt the same as you, and I was really concerned because we have, as a club, we have been in this position before where we've panic buyed and we've spent far too much money on players. We have then ruined opportunities to invest in the squad further during other transfer windows because we've spent over the odds on a player that might only be good for us for the next 2 or 3 years max, and it would have to move on anyway. I didn't want it to ruin any plans in the summer because, quite frankly, I think if you spend 60 million on Ollie Watkins in January, that's, unless you're going to sell players in the summer for PSR terms, you get your spend is going to be restricted. I'm not saying we're that close to the line at the moment, but that would have brought us closer, and it would have potentially meant that other areas that we still need a wide forward. There's no doubt about it. We need a left midfield. I've been harping on about this for about 2 years, as you well know. But look, so look, I felt like it was desperation. I was a little bit concerned. I also wasn't sure whether it was a little bit of a way of appeasing the fans slightly to say, look, we're trying. When realistically, John Duran was always leaving Aston Villa in that window. Villa were never, ever going to let go of both of them. They're just not going to. How do you explain that to your fan base if you allowed both your strikers to leave. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
So then I started questioning, going, how serious were they with that bid? Yeah, was it just a bit of a throwaway?
Well, it was Villa that came into Arsenal. It was Villa's idea, the deal.
Yeah, but Arsenal could have turned around and straight away and gone, no.
Yeah, but I think they saw it as like, if Villa are coming to us, we could probably get a good deal for him, because we offered 40 plus add-ons, which I think is a reasonable price for Watkins personally at his age, with the fact that they had John Duran there that they could have kept as well.
I know you're saying that Villa came to Arsenal. I'm not 100% convinced by that, by the way.
Really?
No, I'm not 100%.
Okay, fair enough. I've got it on really good authority. But
that's fine.
This is two journalists going back.
No problem at all. It's more of you might have that on good authority. I sit there and look at it objectively to go, well, hold on a minute. Really? You're just selling John Duran. You're going to sell Ollie Watkins. Who the hell plays up front for you? You're in the Champions League. You got a chance to get Europe again this season. It's just none of that.
I get where you're coming from.
That's right.
The issue that we've got is that the John Duran reporting emerged before the Watkins stuff emerged, but the reality is that the Watkins thing happened before the Al Nasser Duran stuff happened, but it came out afterwards. So from a timeline perspective, it was flipped to what the reality of the situation was.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah. But no,
I'm just not having it, because John Duran was always leaving.
Having it.
No, just because John Duran was always leaving, leaving. I was convinced the whole way through. We knew he was leaving. We knew that Saudi were going to bid. We knew that the money was going to come in, and Aston Villa would go, well, hold on a minute, we can make this much money or this much money. And at the moment, they're going to go, right, we're going to bang, we're going to get that much money.
Yeah.
Will they get 70 odd million for him?
Yeah, it's like 75 mil. It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
You get most of that up front, I reckon, as well.
Absolutely. Unbelievable bit of business. So, January's January. January's not an easy month anyway. I mean, look, if you look at the market and look at who potentially could have got, you say about Ollie Watkins, I mean, the other option would have been Matis Tell. He actually, I think, looks okay for Tottenham, if I'm being brutally honest. I think he's looked better than I thought he might have done. But Arsenal clearly weren't convinced and didn't want to make an offer that would mean potentially buying the player for 50 million in the summer. I think Tottenham did. I hate to praise them, but they did a pretty good bit of business with that, because all the cards are in their hands on that deal. So look, when things like that happen, I think I can understand frustration from fans to go, well, hold on a minute, how did they manage to do that where they're having such a bad season, they're struggling so much? But I think we've just got to go, in my opinion, look back and go, we got hampered by injuries at the worst possible time, where all the cups are raging. You're in the semi-final of a cup. FA Cup starts. I mean, the FA Cup was absolutely horrendous. But then you're in the Champions League, you're in the title race, and then all these injuries happen at that time. Liverpool having the season of their life. It is what it is. But look, I'm going to keep optimistic that there'll be some really good business this summer. We're going to see attacking players come in. We're going to see a midfielder come in. And maybe the side's going to be completely rejuvenated next season. But I don't want to write off this season. So let's not write off this season. Let's go to PSV. Let's score 6 goals. Mikel Arteta can go in his press conference and go, why do I need a striker?
Yeah, I got Mikel Merino.
With all 6.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, imagine. I'm conscious of the time. So just kind of final couple of minutes on the sporting director situation. As is right now, the candidates that we're aware of that have been, not necessarily, we don't know really kind of how they're ranking in Arsenal's feeling. It's been a very kind of closed doors procedure from Arsenal, as we would expect. We know that Roberto Alave of Real Sociedad is been under consideration. Andrea Berta, formerly has now left of Atletico Madrid of the last kind of 8 years. So some of their most successful years as a club. And some of the business they've done with Diego Simeone there. Thomas Rosicky obviously admitted to that he's aware that he's under consideration as well of Sparta Prague and formerly of Arsenal as well. You've got Darren Ashworth, most recently at Man United and Newcastle and Brighton. and of course Jason Ato, who is currently the interim sporting director at Arsenal as well. And I think Thiago Scuro was also mentioned by David Ornstein, but I heard that would kind of, as far as I was concerned, that was kind of dead in the water a little while ago, but his name has been considered. So out of those names, just briefly, who's your pick?
Yeah,
and maybe you know more. Maybe somebody
no,
else.
no. I actually don't. I've been trying
Would
to.
you like to dispute this claim too?
No disputing any claim on this. I'll dispute the other one, but not this one. No, nothing. It's, as you said, it's been dealt with behind closed doors. There's certainly no insight any more than that, and any more of those names that you mentioned in terms of through Sky Sports. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. My something's telling me they might stick with Ato, and I don't know. I think they quite like promoting within. He's been part of the club during this phase where we're actually on an upward trajectory, so that's a positive. So I understand the benefits there. Bringing someone like Thomas Rosicky in, I think would be a good move in terms of appeasing the fan base. The fans will get behind him. A bit of an Arsenal legend. Or you want someone slightly different and someone to come in with fresh perspective, maybe not linked with the club, maybe just an outsider coming in. Dan Ashworth, I wouldn't necessarily be too keen, only because of his most recent journey. It for me, when someone becomes a bit of a soap opera, maybe not anything about him, but I just don't want that as part of our club. I don't think we need it. I mean, it's part of this debacle at Manchester United where it feels like they hired about 4 sporting directors at the same time. It's an absolute shambles. So look, I don't know. Do I think we need to freshen it up? Possibly. Mr. Real Sociedad, who knows and is quite friendly with our manager, could be one to watch, I think. So look, I'm basically putting splinters in my backside and sitting firmly on a fence, not knowing where to go. So I've given you a few options. You've got either stick with someone who's working with the club at the moment, has been doing a good job, bring in an Arsenal legend in Rosicky, or go for someone who's a bit of an outsider who's actually going to bring a fresh perspective and new ideas in. I would probably go for the third one myself.
Yeah.
But whether Arsenal do that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute must for the fresh ideas avenue. I mean, Jason Ato has done some good things. Fans, and I can already see the comments going out. They'll be like, well, what good has he done? But he has been working with Edu, and a lot of the business has gone on to build Arsenal to what's gone on. The Martins and Mendy stuff I mentioned a lot as well. He's involved heavily in putting Arsenal to a very good position there. But January was such a colossal failure and such a black mark, I felt, against his record so early on in his tenure in that position, first window that you're leading on, and you've not been able to bring anything in and find the solution that Arteta so publicly was calling for. I feel as though you have to go external. You have to look to bring somebody in. Andrea Berta really is an interesting one for me. Just the work that was done at Atletico, taking that team on against Barcelona and Real Madrid, picking up some trophies. There was some pretty crazy business in there as well, which is a little concerning. I mean, like Thomas Lemar, for instance, of Monaco, stands out as a bit of a crazy one. But there's also some really good bits of business in there as well that I've seen, like likes of Rodri from Villarreal to Atleti before he moved to City, and Antoine Griezmann back in the day. That was when he was more of a technical director as well, moving from Real Sociedad, and they have a good record of centre forwards, Atletico Madrid, that's for sure. In terms of their history of signing players and having to replace them constantly because they kept getting poached by teams. So that record for Arsenal looking to try and sign a centre forward in the future, not such a bad thing perhaps to have. James, thank you so much, mate, for your time. I really genuinely appreciate you hopping on this evening in your chaos that is your life right now and having a chat about the Arsenal. So thanks for that. Tell people where they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tom. I really appreciate it. It's been nice to come on and talk Arsenal and just relax and not think about anything else externally in my life right now. So much appreciated. Look, you find me on the socials, James Green in UK. As regards where I'll be, let's have a think. Where am I going to be? I'll be presenting Sky Sports News Thursday and Friday morning this week. So got some nice early starts.
What time? Do you know?
I'll be getting up at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh,
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get someone to look after the little one instead of me doing the nights all the time, so I can actually get a bit of rest.
there you go.
And make a coherent sentence on TV as well. That'd help.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody else, of course, for listening. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this pre-recorded episode. Of course, sorry that I wasn't able to do the usual 8 a.m. live show, but I am on currently, as I say, in over international waters as we currently are speaking, as this is premiering on YouTube at 8 a.m. tomorrow. So looking forward to bringing you coverage. Next time you see me will, of course, be in Eindhoven and looking ahead to that massive fixture against the Dutch sides in the Champions League. Speak to you soon. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.